Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Monday morning, August 16th, 2021. This is an important day for a couple of reasons, one of which is we're pretty much at the halfway point of the month of August. So it's a great time for you to stop and assess, how's it going for you? Are you generating at least one new client, most likely in the Access to Capital program, per day? So in other words, do you have 50, more or less than 15 enrollments so far in the month of August? If 15 or more, great. You're on track, most likely for a great month. If less than that, we probably need to be working together to do something differently, because you're probably not helping as many clients as you could or should, obviously not generating income that you should or could. So today we're going to talk about several key announcements or refinements that can help you help more small businesses. So let's get started. At any time, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. So agenda item number 1, we rolled out a new PDF flyer on first tranche financing. We sent out a rough draft in announcing today's, and there was a couple misspellings, like guaranteed was misspelled in the rough draft, but here is the final version I'll get to you. So why do we have this flyer? 2 reasons. Number 1, when we're sending out the first tranche financing application for a client, whether they be white label or not, to sign, this is kind of the cover page to give them a quick overview. So that is purpose number 1 of this flyer. And the second is, you might in fact find it to be a good conversation piece with your prospects. Why is that? Well, let's go through the content and I think you'll realize it. So what is on this simple 1-page flyer that of course you can edit and put your contact information at the bottom? All right, so we're announcing FTF. And so you and I, we understand that's the first round of funding that a client receives when they're enrolled in the Access to Capital program. It's kind of jargon though, right? A lot of people don't know what FTF is, and that's okay. So we have the subtitle here, Guaranteed Approvals with No Credit Check. And that's a correct statement. So as we go through this, we have to keep clarifying that there are different sources of capital and each have their own underwriting criteria. So only a fool would think that one set of criteria applies to all types of financing. That's craziness. So are we saying that, oh, you can go get $1 million SBA loan with no credit check? Of course not. We're not implying that, we're not inferring that, but we are letting the reader know, hey, there is guaranteed funding available. And that's a true statement. We'll talk about that and defend that as we go through. All right, so next on the flyer, we have the subtitle, Getting Financing to Start or Grow a Small Business Shouldn't Be Difficult. And that's a pretty good tagline that you may want to use in your text blast or email blast or your marketing. And so what we clarify is that in less than 5 minutes, they can complete a simple 1-page application to get funding offers to start or grow a business. Now, again, we'll have this as essentially the cover page in the Adobe that's going out to Access to Capital clients, white label or otherwise. So they won't have to say, well, where do I get the application? It's the next page. Furthermore, we explain that this streamlined application provides access to numerous financing offers without any cost, without any obligation, and without any hard inquiries. So you can see that we're really creating a picture. Why wouldn't you want to do this? If you want money to start or grow a business, it's not going to cost anything. There's no obligation, no hard inquiries. In other words, no impact to your credit to find out what type of funding you qualify for. Why not do it? Then we go to the second subtitle, Guaranteed Approval Financing. And again, that is an absolutely correct statement. There are some sources of capital, which we'll go through, that are guaranteed approval, regardless of credit scores, regardless of time in business, regardless of verifiable income. And those are not in-house financing. These are third-party legitimate financing that in fact reports, so it builds the credit profile of the participant. So through our grant subsidized program, anyone, and then we had to add the exclamation. You always appreciate attorneys for adding exclamations, but they do need to be a US citizen. They have to complete the application. Kind of implied, but we just want to be transparent. Anyone can get access to a minimum of $100,000, and that's of course going through the Access to Capital or Capital Ready program, and be immediately approved for an initial round of financing of $20,000, as I mentioned before, regardless of credit scores, income, or time in business. So again, don't fall into the trap and say, oh, okay, well, I want a $20,000 SBA loan then. You said that you guarantee it. No, we didn't say that. There's different sources of capital. We need the application to figure out what the client qualifies for based upon their mitigating circumstances. But there are some sources that will in fact go up to $20,000 without any minimum credit score, without even a credit check, quite frankly, without verifiable income, and without a minimum time in business. Okay, and then so we get down here and just a little background statement that this was developed with the input of SBA advisors, score mentors, business college professors. We've created a unique streamlined model to get funding offers with guaranteed approval regardless of credit scores, income, or time in business. So you'll see that since we often work with folks that have some challenges in getting funding, otherwise maybe they wouldn't be working with you and I, they would be just down at their bank right now signing the loan paperwork, that it's important for us to reiterate that those common barriers are not barriers in working with us. Clarifying that all they need to do is complete a simple one-page application, and then we'll be in contact with them within 24 hours. We've had several clients this morning that have filled out the app, and we've already gotten them approval for funding this morning, and it's only 8:06 a.m. Central Time. We further clarify that there's no cost for them to complete the application and receive offers. There's no hard inquiries. There's no risk. And then again, up to $20,000 is available without credit check. Okay, so let's pause for a second. Does anyone have any questions on what we've covered so far? And then I'll get over to the right side of the flyer, and then we'll wrap up agenda item 1. Any questions so far? Okay, if you have questions, just pop them in there. I'll finish up with the flyer, and then we'll summarize number 1 and move on. I think it is important for us to do a better job to explain to prospects, or I should say these are clients. So who fills out the application? Clients of Access to Capital or Capital Ready. Now you could use this to generate clients because they'd say, okay, yeah, I want to do that. Well, great. Let's get you signed up for the Access to Capital program. Guarantees a minimum $100,000 capital raise, no risk to you, no upfront cost, and then we can go ahead and get your application in. Okay, so we do clarify different types, and this is not all inclusive, but it is to give some examples. So certainly clients can get term loans, or they can get revolving accounts and/or credit lines and/or lines of credit. There's business credit that's under the EIN only. There's SBA loans and non-SBA loans. You might say, well, what's the point of listing all this out? Well, it's interesting with people. You know, some people want an SBA loan, so that's motivating to them. And then you have some people say, well, I don't want an SBA loan. That's not what I want. So we clarify that it could be either way. And then what we're rolling out, which is agenda item number 2, which you'll see here in just a second, is the new credit builder loans. This is very exciting and a brand new development, but we'll get to that in a moment. And then we've talked some before about the Chapman Fund. The Chapman Fund is not a bank loan. It is through a taxing authority, and it's designed to help start and grow small businesses. 30,000 minimum, 250,000 is the top end, but it can be stacked on top of other types of funding, often with SBA loans. Can be used for fixed assets, new construction, renovations, leased property, equipment, inventory, and working capital. And it's interesting, it's one of the few types of capital that can explicitly and legitimately be used as an equity injection. So, and then you can edit the bottom with your contact information. Okay, so in summary, agenda item number 1 on the flyer. First tranche financing has been around. We have not clarified in a flyer format the value proposition, and we believe that it would help us get more clients to complete the FTF application if we included this in the Adobe packet that goes out to them. So as of now, it's embedded into the Adobe packet for all new FTF apps that go out. And then also we'll provide this, we provide you a rough draft. There's, as I mentioned, a couple of misspellings like guaranteed and so forth, but you can then go change it and put your contact information on it if you want. Jonathan's asking a question of, are we going to set up a website called fundingproposal.online? Because we obviously own the domain. That's why the email's here. And it's essentially a white label email address right now. It doesn't go any, the email is delivered, of course, but there's not a website set up. And that's interesting. We may or may not, I'm not sure. There's been some discussion of setting up a funding proposal website where prospects would go directly to that. And that certainly could be part of your marketing if you want, the landing page that you create. But at this point, Jonathan, no, there's not a funding proposal website, but it is a domain we own. So we're using it as an email address, kind of matches the circumstances, and it's white label enough. Okay, let's see. Helen is asking, does she charge an upfront fee? Well, again, this is not a new program, and that's my fault, Helen, not yours. This is not a new program. This is a marketing flyer that goes out with the one-page application to help increase conversions for clients that are enrolled in Access to Capital or Capital Ready. So we're not rolling out a new program. This is not something new to get contracted with or what have you. This is just simply an explanatory sheet that could be used standalone, and certainly now is embedded with the application to help motivate people to complete the application whom have already enrolled in the program. Okay, so I think we've answered the question so far. So I think we're good on number 1. We're rolling forward to number 2 unless anyone else has a question. And I'll get there. Again, I sent this flyer out to everyone yesterday, inviting you to the meeting. Well, on this email that we're looking at here, and then we'll send out the final version. Leo asked before I move on. Yeah, so it doesn't matter what the client's use of funds is. Maybe they want to buy an existing business, or they want to buy real estate, or they want to buy a franchise, or they just need working capital. It doesn't matter. The process is the same. You enroll them in Access to Capital or Capital Ready, and then we're going to get their application so we can figure out what their first tranche, their first round of funding will be. Once they've paid the refundable deposit, which is typically $2,500, which we split 50-50 with you, as you know, as a white label partner, then we'll build a loan package. The loan package then digs into all those client specifics. Okay, what are we going to use the money for? How much money do we need, and so forth, so we can come up with a game plan for that larger capital raise. But the front end of the process doesn't vary. And Ronald's correct. There's no minimum credit scores, no minimum income, no minimum time in business. Now, each source of capital, Ronald, you and I both know, has different sources has different underwriting criteria. I'm getting several questions about when do you get this flyer? Well, I sent it to everyone yesterday. So it was an attachment that was sent at 11:18 a.m. yesterday. Of course, it had a few errors in it. And so then when we send out the recording for today, you'll get the final version. Okay. Let's see here. Helen asked a good question. So as a white label partner, Helen and others, you control the terms with your client, including how much the refundable deposit is, or I guess if you want to charge them one at all, you determine if it's refundable or non-refundable. You determine the performance fee. But with that being said, if you're using the normal approach, is that all types of capital, regardless of the type of capital, is assigned a performance fee, because it's you and I collectively providing them access to capital. So if they wanted a $10,000 business credit card, like we talked about 2 weeks ago, then they'd get the credit card and you'd invoice them for whatever the performance fee is that you contracted with them on. Most of you are charging a 10% performance fee. Mark usually does 20%. Some of you even do less. I mean, it's up to you what you want your performance fee to be. But the answer to the question, Helen, is yeah, any type of capital raise would be charged the performance fee, because that's the deal. Okay, so now we're going to go over here to credit builder loan, agenda item number 2. And let's make this a little bigger here if we can. Well, I guess I didn't want to. Okay, so credit builder loans, these are unique instruments that you may or may not be aware of. They operate a little bit different. And we made reference on the flyer that just came down. So a credit builder loan, by a truest sense, is one that is not secured. And that's important because you don't have to go pledge. Let's say we're going to get a $20,000 credit builder loan. Do you have to have collateral? No, you do not have to have collateral. Do you have to have minimum credit scores? No, there's not even a credit check. Do you have to have a minimum time in business? No. Do you have to have verifiable income, business or personal? No. So it's essentially a guaranteed approval and instant approval. So at first glance, you might say, well, wait, that's illogical. That sounds too good to be true. But the way that credit builder loans work is that they protect themselves. I should say that they report to all 3 bureaus. So it's great to build credit. That's why it's called a credit builder loan. But essentially, the client pays in payments. Those payments are reported to the bureaus, as I was just on. And then once it's funded fully, then it's distributed. So it's kind of like a reverse, right? So you might say, well, why would I want to do that, right? I want 20,000 right now, not later. Well, if you qualify for 20,000 right now, that would be great. Let's go do that. But we have some people that need to build, and this is an option. It's not a requirement. Some people will like it, some people won't. But a credit builder loan is smart, because what a lot of people will do is they'll go to their credit union or bank or otherwise, and they'll get some little trade line, $300 or $500, which is typically secured. And they'll use that to trigger reporting of new positive credit history. But the problem, and we talked about this a week or so ago, is we don't want small numbers, because while small numbers will report positively on the credit, they will limit our borrowing capacity in the future, because future lenders will say, well, look, that person's only managed a little bit of credit. We probably should only offer them a little bit as well. So it can be a big amount, but we can go anywhere from 300 to 20,000 on the credit builder loans. So that is number 2, and that was referenced on the flyer. Okay, so moving on. We have a number of you coming in for the Train the Trainer training. It's a lot of trains. Train the Trainer training on August 27th, a week from this Friday. We do have a few seats left. So if you want to come join us, you're welcome to do it. The agenda is we'll start at 9 a.m. We'll end at 4 p.m. We'll provide you lunch. It is just business casual, so don't worry about that. The focus of the day is Train the Trainer. So we're going to go through a curriculum that's going to position you to have an in-depth knowledge of small business finance. And I showed you the curriculum before. I don't have it pulled up now, and I'll share it with you tomorrow. But it's very useful. And if you're going to teach, because there's different ways to generate leads, right? We've got our leads program, which we'll talk about in just a moment on number 4. But you can also go teach at chambers, teach at churches, teach at libraries. And so if you're going to teach, then you need a curriculum. And this is a turnkey curriculum that people love. And again, I'll cover it again tomorrow. I should have been prepared today to review it with you, but we'll go through that in detail tomorrow because it's been a couple of weeks. But we have a few seats remaining. If you want to come in on August 27th, just email me and let me know, and we can reserve a seat for you. All right, so then that takes us over to number 4. So a number of you have taken advantage of the free lead program. We announced this last Friday. And essentially what we've done is we've looked at our top producers to say, what are they doing? What's working for them? And we found that some of them have a very specific way of generating leads that's very effective. And so we essentially are getting those leads and making those available to those of you that want to work them. We will provide you 100 leads per month. And then if you've worked those and then you want more, then we can certainly get you more. But that is the concept. I was going to pull up here, which I should have been prepared. We keep track each day. And so our top referral partner has 276 conversions as of this morning, as of right now. I was just pulling it up. That's why I was kind of stuttering when I was talking. So that's awesome. And so we're using his model and providing those same leads, those same type of leads to any of you that want to work them. So again, there's no obligation to participate in the free lead program. If you're interested, just reply back, email me, and we can get you plugged in. What happens is that there is a charge for those leads. It's about $200 a month, covering our part of our cost. And as long as you work those leads, stay compliant, then we reimburse you each month. So technically you buy the leads for $2 a piece, and then we reimburse you fully for those at the end of each month, as long as you're working the leads and staying compliant. So if that's something that interests you, outstanding. Now these leads, for instance, Bruce is online here. Bruce got his first 100 this morning. These 100 leads that we just emailed to Bruce this morning, right before training, came from our database. We sent them to him on an Excel spreadsheet, name, email, and phone number. And those 100 all contacted us and said, hey, I'm interested in that guaranteed $100,000 capital raise. So I don't know how many Bruce will convert, but I'm sure he'll do quite well. He's got a good group of leads. And so we have more leads. And so if any of you want to work leads, then you can participate in a free lead program like Bruce is, if you wish. All you'd need to do is email back, let us know, and we can get you set up on that. All right. And then, oh, well, here it is. I forgot I had it down here at the bottom. So I just told you it's 276, which is correct. I did this yesterday at 11 a.m. So he was at our top producer, Jeff, for August, was at 273 yesterday, 276 as of this morning. So what will that end up being for the month? I don't know. It should track out to about 500 conversions, not leads, not prospects, not inquiries, people that have enrolled in the Access to Capital program. They've signed on the dotted line. So I don't want to create false expectations. What I just said is true and factual, but I'm not promising that we can help you get 500 conversions this month, like Jeff probably will have. But there's no reason that we can't work together and at least get you one a day. And the first step in having a material amount of conversions is having enough leads. If you already have a good lead system, do what you're doing, don't get distracted. But others don't, and so that's why we're rolling this out. And then once you have the leads, then if you need help in processing those leads in terms of best practices, of setting up a drip campaign, in other words, multiple touches until they convert and all of that, then of course we can help you on the back end there. But until you have the leads, it really doesn't matter. Okay, so with that, we're going to get over to your questions. So if you have questions, comments, concerns, you're going to put it in the Q&A box. We've got a bunch of them to start working through. So let's get started here. Some of these were already answered, which I didn't clear out, sorry. Yes, and so let's go back to that flyer here. So of course, you'd be able to change this and put your contact information on here, your website, your landing page, your phone number, your email, whatever you prefer. Thank you, Ronald, for that question. All right, so Zahn is asking, well, and Zahn, just by you asking that question, it's good for you to know. What I don't want any of you to do is to put yourself in harm's way. And what I mean by that is, you can use this flyer, but I wouldn't go so far as to use the flyer and then map out the client's capital raise. So let's say Zahn approached me and I say, hey, Zahn, I've been thinking about that $5 million SBA loan I've been reading about. Can you help me get that? Now, all of a sudden, Zahn is assessing me for a $5 million SBA loan. We've not built a loan package. We don't have any data. Zahn probably doesn't know. We don't know what the person's going to qualify for or what the best type of capital is. So what we don't want you to do is use the flyer and then all of a sudden create very specific expectations. Now, we know that we can guarantee the 20,000, right? That's a guarantee. Anyone can get that. We're clear on that. But beyond that, there's requirements for each type of capital. People will either qualify for it or not. And if they don't, then we can help them work towards qualifying for it. That's what we all do as technical advisors. But don't overpromise. Oh, sure, yeah, I'll get you the $5 million SBA loan, when in fact that might not be the right type of capital for them, or maybe it's even a prohibited industry. They're opening a new strip club in Vegas. Well, we're not going to be able to get an SBA loan for that. So it's fine to talk about types of financing, but don't create a financing plan for the client. We only do that after we build the loan package, which means that they've enrolled in the program. So let me read Zahn's question one more time. So his was a little bit more about the credit builder loan. And so the client can pick the amount of the loan. It can be as little as 300. It can be as much as 20,000. I didn't put the minimum here, but the maximum is 20,000. And so they're in control of that. And that's the amount that they'll get. All right, Steve's wife was approved for 20,000 yesterday. Very good. And you're right, some lenders will have fees involved. Like if you ever bought a house, right? There's fees involved with getting a mortgage. And so we're not the lender. We can't make those fees bigger nor smaller. So you're right, Steve, and everyone else. Yeah, lenders often will have costs associated with financing that'll always be disclosed, and it's determined by the lender, not by us. And until the lender makes a funding offer, we won't know what those costs are. But that's part of the financing system is lender fees, our lender fees. Warren, you're correct. So the credit builder loan is a trade line, and so it can be marketed either as a trade line for 20,000, which is meaning that, well, it can be marketed as a trade line or as a loan. You're correct, Warren. Mr. Jackson, good to see you again, Mr. Jackson. I think we did a workshop together in Houston, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, at the Embassy Suites in Hughes Landing in the Woodlands, Texas. I love that place. Okay, so Mr. Jackson's a new white label partner. So what I would recommend that you do, Mr. Jackson, is go to the IIMFL website, go to the white label page and go through that, the training videos there. That would be very, very helpful. And then we have a chief marketing officer now. His name's Scott Stroud. And we copied him, Mr. Jackson, on your onboarding packet. You can reply back and schedule a time with Scott, and he can really help you get onboarded. And I think you and I are scheduled actually to visit today or tomorrow. Samuel asked what this training is. These trainings are in person. They are not virtually. We have this one scheduled for August 27th. There is not another one scheduled. I don't know if we'll continue to have them. The last one we had filled up, and then this one we have a few seats remaining. We're just going to kind of play it by ear. So we may have more in September. We may not. We will just base it on supply and demand, I guess, or we'll just supply based upon demand. And then Pauline also asked about virtual training, but these are in person. Now, the training curriculum that we provide you, you can turn around and train in person or online, but the training itself is in person. It's a full day training. Free lunch. Oh, several of you asked about online or not. Helen's asking about the LEAD program. So that's right. Yeah. So what I said is we're working through a third-party company. They charge for the leads. It ends up being a little less than $200 a month, which is equivalent to $2 a lead. We reimburse you each month for those, just like we covered in training last week. And so, yeah, I mean, you can do it or not do it. What we said last week is even if you're paying $2 a lead, that's a great price. But in this case, you pay $2 a lead and we reimburse you $2 a lead. So it ends up being free. So sorry for any confusion on that. I can tell you we're paying a whole lot more than $2 a lead. We're losing money every time we sell a lead, but that's okay. That's our investment in you. All right. So Warren asked where Bruce's leads came from. So again, Bruce's leads are people that have gone to one of our landing pages, have voluntarily put in their first name, their last name, their email, and their phone number, and said, I'm interested in a minimum of $100,000 capital raise. So there's that. Oscar asked what the average amount, let's pull that back up, average funding is for first tranche. Well, it should never be less than 2,500. Hypothetically, it can be as high as 100, but that's unusual. Typically, it's less than 35,000 because we've not built a loan package out, right? And so we'll just have to see what each client qualifies for. We could calculate what the average has been, and I don't know offhand, but it doesn't matter. No one gets average, right? They get what they qualify for. And the only way that we know what they qualify for is by filling out the one-page application, which doesn't cost them anything, doesn't create any obligation, and no hard inquiries. I think you got to be careful, Oscar, and your question is a good one, but I think you got to be careful about throwing out averages to people, because then they're going to create an expectation of that. And we talked on Friday, like Pauline got 19,000 and some change. And so is that average? Well, no, that's what she got though. So it varies based on the individual. You have to be really careful about throwing out numbers because people will latch on to it and then they could get disappointed, say, well, I didn't get 19,000 like Pauline, why not? Well, it's based on what you qualify for, right? All right, so let's move forward here. So yes, Steve, so our goal with working with clients and getting their first tranche financing is to collect at least enough for the deposit, which is with us a refundable deposit, and that is $2,500. As a white label partner, you could charge more or less. You can make it refundable or non-refundable. Of course, funding on top of that is great, but the minimum goal is to get $2,500, which you as a white label partner get half of. All right. Going through the list here. The training will be just outside of Dallas, Texas, and you can fly into Dallas or fly into Tyler, Texas. American flies in there. We'll get you all the specifics, Mr. Williams, if you'd like to come join us, but it's just outside of Dallas, and it's one day, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the 27th. No, it's not going to be recorded. It's live. You either come join us or not. That's okay. No pressure. Sandy asked about trainings on writing the key person policies. There absolutely are, and that's on the white label page. So iimfl.org/white label. There's a training video on writing the key person policies. Latasha asked a good question. So let's take Bruce. So Bruce is in the free lead program. He got his 100 free leads this morning. If Bruce works through those and he needs more, he'll get more and he won't have to pay any more for that. So that's a perk. And then she's also, I think, indicating is there a minimum number of conversions that Bruce has to have to get more leads? And no, we're just looking to see if they're worked. It doesn't make sense. There's some people, not Bruce, but some people say, well, give me 1,000 leads. And so if we gave everyone 1,000 leads, that would incur a lot more cost to us of time and effort and money. And then you and I both know a lot of people will never be diligent enough to work 1,000 leads. So we do them in batches of 100. And I'll get for all of you that have registered for Train the Trainer, we have the room reserved, and we're working on the lunch menu and all that, but I'll get those specifics out to you this week. Again, if you've not registered yet and you want to join us, the cost is $299 to offset our cost of room and lunch and materials, and all you do is just email us and let us know. Okay. And that's right. So the training is technically in Tyler, Texas, of which American Airlines flies into Tyler, small airport, easy in and out, or you can fly into Dallas, or of course, drive or however you want to get here. Zahn asked about on the trade line split. So with the trade lines, if they're doing the straight trade line, we split that 50-50. So if they're doing a $10,000 trade line, then you make 5,000 and we make 5,000, which is good. Steve has his meeting with Scott today. We'll get you your first leads. I mean, the leads are sitting there. They just need to be allocated. So within a day or 2 days, Steve, we can get you your 100 leads to get going. Ron's asking how often the training is. And that's what I mentioned earlier. I don't know. It's just we'll control supply based upon demand. Our first training filled up and overfilled. The second one has a few seats left, and so we'll kind of play it by ear. But right now, we're laser focused on the 27th. So if you want to join us for training, please reply back and let us know, and we can get you set up to come join us. If that doesn't work, just stand by and we'll see what else comes about. All right, so we had a lot of questions, a lot of information. We ran way over, which is my apologies. I apologize for, but let's go ahead and just summarize what we've covered, and we'll wrap it up for today. So we launched the new flyer, which is here. I sent out a copy of it. That was the attachment yesterday morning, late morning Central Time. It's been cleaned up a little bit more. When I send out the recording, I'll include the flyer, and of course you can edit with your contact information on it. The flyer can be used for marketing purposes, but it shouldn't be inferred, oh, okay, just people come off the street and do this. They would need to enroll in the Access to Capital or Capital Ready. Then we help them with first tranche financing. The credit builder loan's great for those folks that don't qualify for cash disbursement loans yet, so they can build their credit and get the guaranteed loan amount over time. Train a Trainer is August 27th, a week from this Friday. A few seats left. Hope you'll join us. The free lead program was a summary of what we talked about last week and rolled out. We probably had 12 or 15 people show interest, and some are moving forward with it, some aren't. And then this was dated, he's up to 276 conversions for the month. And again, it's his model, we'll call it the Jeff model, that we built the lead program off of. So for instance, the leads that Bruce has, I'll tell you something I didn't really plan to tell you. The 100 leads that I just sent to Bruce came from the same marketing campaign that generated 273 conversions. Not a similar campaign, the same. And we've got a bunch more leads that need to be worked. So if you're interested and you want leads, let us know. Okay, so we covered a lot of information. We will be back together tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Thank you all for your time and attention. Let's make sure that we try to convert at least one client a day, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Thanks. Bye.